Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Strange Wonders. As always, I'm your host, Mr. G. Today, we're discussing the most famous marsupial of them all, the kangaroo. Now, kangaroo, it's one of those animal words that's not really a classification, it's more like a nickname for the largest members of the Macropodidae family. The kangaroos are what they call the big ones, the small ones are called wallabies. Anyway, kangaroos are the largest marsupials, with the largest being the red kangaroo, which is about the size of a human. Kangaroos are found only in Australia, where they live across most of the continent. Due to a lack of placental grazing animals, kangaroos have evolved to fill that niche. And like a cow, they have a stomach divided into four sections. Kangaroos live in groups, and rather famously, their main form of locomotion is jumping, which they use thanks to their powerful legs to spring themselves forward. One drawback of their design, however, is that they can't walk, so if they want to get somewhere without jumping, the only way they can move is by dragging themselves along with their arms. Being marsupials, kangaroos have an unusual way of giving birth compared to placental mammals. The baby kangaroo is only in their mother's womb for a short time, and when it's born, it's nowhere near fully developed. So, as such, the newborn fetus has to then crawl up their mother to her pouch where they latch onto one of her nipples and stay there drinking milk until they're developed enough to leave. Though even when fully developed, the joey will go into the pouch when scared until they're too big to get in. Kangaroos have little to fear due to most Australian predators being smaller than them, with the only animals they really have to worry about being things like crocodiles. But the only mammalian predator they have to fear is the dingo. Luckily though, since they have experience with the thylacine, they already know how to deal with a canine-like hunter. If threatened, kangaroos can use their powerful legs to give devastating kicks which are strong enough to send grown adults flying. So yeah, don't mess with them. Now let's look at the cards. Yes, I said cards. You see, for some reason, they gave two different kangaroos cards, and I genuinely cannot figure out why. Uh, like, why couldn't you just make one kangaroo card? Why did you have to give one to both the red kangaroo and the eastern gray kangaroo? Like, they're in the same genus! Is there really that much of a distinction between them that you think they're both noteworthy animals? Like, what the heck? But they don't make any factual errors, I'm just baffled as to why there are two kangaroo cards. So, yeah, fine, they get 10 out of 10s, but I'm baffled by their inclusion. Now let's talk about human relations. First and foremost, kangaroos are the national animal of Australia. Normally that would mean they're off limits to eat, but kangaroo is a pretty common food in Australia. So yeah, kangaroos are very reoccurring in zoos and in media. They're very common, usually portrayed as stereotypically Australian or used to represent a country. This is so common, in fact, that the only kangaroos I can think of that aren't stereotypically Australian or used to represent Australia is Kanga and Roo from Winnie the Pooh, who are just as British as the rest of the cast. Also, media tends to give male kangaroos pouches, even though the only living marsupial where males have pouches is the yapok. Also, they're often shown as being able to carry things in the pouch, despite real kangaroo pouches being very tight and full of mucus. Kangaroos also played a role in paleontology. As when theropod dinosaurs were first discovered, no one knew what to make of their stance, so they looked to kangaroos, and figured that since they have a bipedal stance with their tail dragging on the ground, that must be how theropods walk. But eventually that got discredited since it was found out they would break their hips if they stood like that. Also, one notable part of kangaroos and humans was the boxing kangaroo sideshow where they would put people in a boxing match against a kangaroo. Yes, this is something they really did, and a lot of people got very messed up doing this. So if you've ever wondered why media kangaroos are often given boxing glove, that's why. That's all for this episode of Strange Wonders. Join us next time for a bit of caviar, if you know what I mean. Ha ha ha.